I will now see electric field need not be produced by one point charge. It can be produced by several point charges, right? That are discrete, or it could also have been produced by a number of continuous collection of charges. There are three kinds of continuous collection of charges. We have what's called linear continuous collection of charges, which could be, let's say, something like this. Along a line, linear does not necessarily mean along a line. It could also mean, let's say there is an arc of a circle and there is charge at every point on this arc. Now, suppose this is called a line charge. Both of these are line charges, right? And there is, suppose the length of this line charge is L. In this case, the length could be L like this. This is the length of the line charge, right? And if the total amount of charge on this is capital Q, which is uniformly distributed, over this length. If this Q is uniformly distributed, we define what's called a linear charge density. Lambda, commonly designated by lambda as total charge by total length. Charge per unit length. That means, what it means is, if this is a linear charge density and it's constant, lambda is uniform. Lambda is the same at every point, which means this is charge per unit length. That means whether I take 1 unit length here or I take 1 unit length here, the amount of charge will be the same. This is what it means by uniform linear charge density. No matter where you take a unit length, it will have the same. Non-uniform means if I take 1 unit length here and I take 1 unit length here, they may in general contain different amounts of charges. That's non-uniform. In this case, it's, let's say, linearly distributed uniform charge. Right? So there is a continuous distribution in the form of distribution along a line or a curve. Along a line or a curve. For that, we define a linear charge density, which could be uniform or non-uniform. Right? Then we have surface charge density. Then we talk of charge distributed continuously on a surface. Charge distributed continuously on a surface. This is a surface. This is a surface, right? Which means if Q is the total charge on this area, right? Then Q by A, that's called total surface charge density. And it's designated by the symbol sigma, surface charge density. Now, if I take a small area somewhere on the surface, dA, and the charge on this area is, say, dQ. I take a small area anywhere on this containing charge dQ over an area dA. Then the surface charge density for this is going to be dQ dA. Now, if sigma remains the same for all dAs, no matter where I select, if this sigma, surface charge density that I have seen for this, remains the same for all dAs that I select on this, then we say charge is uniformly distributed. If this sigma dQ dA remains the same for all dAs, no matter where I select my dA, the same dA will contain the same dQ. If that happens for all dAs on this area, we say the charge is uniformly distributed. That's uniform sigma. But if sigma will depend on where I select my dA, that's non-uniform surface charge density. Right? So that's charge distributed over a surface, over a surface. It may be a planar surface or a non-planar surface. It does not matter. Then we have volume charge density. We talk of charge inside a volume. We talk of charge inside a volume. This is a volume. Now, in this volume, I select a small elemental volume dV. dV is a small volume, dV is a small volume that I select here. And if this contains a charge dq, then we define volume charge density rho. We define volume charge density rho as dq by dv as the volume charge density. If this rho is the same everywhere, then we say charge is uniformly distributed. If no matter where I select my dV, if rho remains the same, then it's a uniform charge distribution. If charge per unit volume, inside this is charge per unit volume, isn't it? If it does not depend on where this dV is selected, then it's uniform distribution of charge. It's uniform volume distribution of charge. You know what I'm saying? Nahin? So essentially 3 kinds of continuous distribution. There could be a linear continuous distribution. There could be a surface distribution where we talk of surface charge density sigma, and there could be a volume distribution of charge where we talk of volume charge density rho, charge per unit volume. It may or may not be uniform. Yes or no? Variable hoy tare eta rho will depend on where I select my dV. Hotei pare. Amra korbo orokom. It will vary. Jodi constant hoy rho. If rho is constant and if Q is the total charge in this total volume V, then rho can be defined as total charge by total volume if rho is constant. Otherwise, dq dV. Now, suppose I have instead of a point charge, I have a linear collection of charge. Say I have a linear collection of charge. This is a linear collection of charge. There is a uniformly distributed charge capital Q over a length L, on this, right? This is the length L, and on this length L I have charge Q uniformly distributed. Then I define linear charge density lambda as Q by L. Now, say at a distance r from A, I want to be able to compute the potential. I want to be able to compute the potential at A at this point P because of this collection of charges. If there was a point charge at A, then it would have been KQ by R. But now it's not a point charge. It's a continuous collection of charges. And I want to compute the potential at the point P because of this continuous collection of charges. Do you understand what I'm addressing here? Because of this continuous collection of charges, I want to compute the potential at the point P. क्या? Now what I do is, say, just to simplify matters, what I can just do is I can call this R. Let me call this R. Now the whole thing will be L plus R then. Okay. Now, at a distance x from P, at a distance x from B, I take a small element along the length dx. I take a small element dx along the length. At a distance x from this end, I take a small element dx along the length, along this length. Dx is a length, right? Now, this is almost like a point charge. Dx is almost like a point, right? What's the charge on this dx? Is going to be charge per unit length into dx. That's the charge on this dx. Lambda is charge per unit length into length. Yes or no? Lambda is the charge per unit length. So dq is the charge on this. This is almost like a point charge. This is almost like a point charge containing how much of charge? dq. Which is what? Charge per unit length into length. Charge per unit length into length. Na? Sure though. Now, this point charge is at what distance from P? Is at a distance x plus r from P? Yes or no? So at P, this point charge produces a certain potential. At P, this point charge dq, this contains an amount of charge dq. It produces a potential at P, right? Potential at P produced by dq is going to be what? Du, small amount of potential produced at P, which is, it's going to be k times dq divided by x plus r. K times dq divided by x plus r. Yes or no? K times the charge on this divided by the distance. That's a potential at P produced by this dq. Right? Where, what is this dq? dq is lambda into dx. Lambda into dx. Yes or no? The total potential produced at P would be sum of all these du's, where x runs from 0 to L, right? I'll have to take all dq's starting from B to A. I'll have to take all dq's starting from B to A. At B, what is the value of x? 0. At A, what's the value of x? L. So I'll have to sum it up from x equal to 0 to L. For x equal to 0 to L. That will be the total potential at P because of this distribution of charge. That's the total potential at P because of this distribution of charge. Bolo, confusion hai? Du is the potential at P produced by this small point charge. How much is it? K times the charge on this. The charge on this is lambda into dx divided by this distance. What is this distance? X plus r. X runs from 0 to L will cover all elements between B and A that could be looked upon as point charges dq. That could be looked upon as point charges dq. Yes or no? X runs from 0 to L. And this you know how to integrate. K lambda will come out. This would be integral 0 to L dx by x plus r. This is log mod x plus r. X runs from 0 to L, which is k lambda log L plus R divided by R plus C. Ah, why C? There is no C. Naki? Integration. If numerator is the derivative of the denominator, if the numerator is the derivative of the denominator, then the integral will be log mod denominator. See, in this case, x plus r is derivative with respect to x, 1. So, numerator is the derivative of the denominator, the integral will be log mod denominator. Lower limit r. Tale, ami distances will be measured from this point. তুই ওরকম দেখতে চাস দেখিয়ে দেবো দাঁড়া ওরকমই দেখিয়ে দিচ্ছি can I wipe this off then I'll choose it accordingly I'll show you that also can I wipe this off এই দেখ কোনো কিছুই না তাহলে দেখ ভাই এই সব মালটাকে সরাই আগে তাহলে এই যে x আছে না খোকা এই xটা এইখান থেকে সিলেক্ট কর ঠিক আছে এইবার কি হবে potential at p because of this is going to be k times the charge on this dq divided by x right that's the potential at p because of this jodi ei x now x at b would be r x at a would be l plus r bolo ei dekh that's the potential at p একই জিনিস আসবে dq is lambda dx charge per unit length into length divided by x runs from r to l plus r এই দেখ 1 by x টা ইন্টিগ্রেট করলে log x পাবি so this is k lambda log x x runs from r to x plus r l plus r ওই তো হয়ে গেল তো k lambda log l plus r by r suppose there was an arc of a circle suppose there was an arc of a circle and there was charge uniformly distributed over this arc this arc subtends an angle alpha radius r and the total amount of charge on this is q and charge is uniformly distributed then charge per unit length would be what total charge divided by total length would be r alpha alpha is in radians r alpha is the length that's the charge per unit length over this right now what I do is I take a small element dq of charge here I compute the potential at O because of this dq I compute the potential at O because of this dq kotota hobe what's the potential at O because of this dq k dq divided by r that's the potential at O because of this dq right the total potential at O would be sum of all of this where k by r will come out integral dq means what sum of all the dq's along this length sum of all the dq's along this length which is q sum of all the dq's along this arc will be q so which would be k by r into sum of all the dq's would be the total charge over this arc so kq by r I have a charge your attention please there is charge q uniformly distributed along a length all right over a length L there is a charge q uniformly distributed and at a point P I have a charge q I want to find the force that this q experiences because of this distribution I want to find the force that this q experiences because of this distribution okay say this distance is r I want to calculate the force experienced by q force experienced by q because of this distribution of charge in this what's the charge per unit length q by L linear charge density uniform let's say what I do is If there was only a point charge, then I would know k small q into capital Q by square of the distance. But now this charge is over a length. Different charge elements are at different distances from P. What I choose to do is, at a distance x from P, I choose a small element dx. At a distance x from P, I choose a small element dx. Right? What's the charge on this element dx? Lambda into dx. Lambda into dx is the charge on this element. Right? Charge per unit length into length. Right? Now, what's the electric field at this point because of this? What's the electric field at P because of this dq? K times dq divided by x squared. That's the electric field at P because of this dx, which contains dq, right? That means if a unit positive charge is placed here, this is the force experienced by a unit positive charge when placed at P, right? But if there is a charge q, let me call this something else, dq prime, the charge on this, call it dq prime, right? What's the force between dq prime and q? This into q would be the force between dq prime and q. Yes or no? And if these are positive charges and q is positive, it's going to be repulsive. That's the force. Yes or no? The total force and forces by different dx's are all in the same direction. So I can add them like I add scalars. The total force would be sum of all of this, where x runs from R to R plus L. X, for this end, x will be R, and for this end, x would be L plus R. X runs from R to R plus L. That's the total force experience, where dq prime I can replace by lambda into dx. X runs from R to R plus L. Lambda into q will come out. And all that you need to do is dx by x squared. X runs from R to R plus L. 1 by x squared, when you integrate, you will get minus 1 by x. 1 by x squared, when you integrate, you will get minus 1 by x. K lambda q minus 1 by x. X runs from R to R plus L. Yes or no? वो एक दूसरा तरीका हम बताएंगे. I have not yet told you the relationship between force and potential energy. Electric field and potential अभी तक बताया नहीं, अभी बताएंगे वो भी. Relationship between electric field intensity and potential, in some time I'll tell you. Once you get used to what potential is, once you get used to what intensity is, I'll come to that just in a little while. Next, I'll take a ring of charge. With charge uniformly distributed on the ring. Uniformly distributed charge on a ring. See, there is a ring of radius r. It has a center O. And there is charge uniformly distributed. This is the axis of the ring. समझ रहे हो axis? Ring है passing through the plane of the ring, perpendicular to the ring. This is the axis of the ring. O is the center of the ring. At a point P, x units from the center along the axis. At a point P, x units along the axis from the center of the ring. I want to compute the potential and intensity of the field produced by this collection of charge. Now, look, what I do is along the circumference of the ring, I take a charge element dq. Along the circumference of the ring, I take a charge element dq. यहाँ पे what's the charge per unit length? Assuming uniform, q by 2 pi r. That's the charge per unit length. Charges uniformly and continuously distributed on the ring. That's the charge per unit length. Now, at the point P, I want to compute the electric field at P. So what I do is, I fragment the ring into several dqs. Compute the electric field vector at P because of all the dqs, and then carry out a summation of the electric field at P. This is the premise, right? Now, at P, this is almost like a point charge. The electric field at P, say, this is capital R, this is small r, this is small r. Then the electric field at P, that means if you placed a unit positive charge, this is like a point charge, it will experience a force in this direction, dE, which is the electric field because of this dq. Electric field dE because of this dq would be outwards. That will be the direction of the force experienced by a unit positive charge when placed at P. Let's say, assuming dq to be positive, it's going to be repulsion, right? So dE is the intensity of the field at P because of the chosen element of charge dq along the circumference. dq is one chosen element and dE is the electric field produced at P by this. Hey, realize all the dqs along this with respect to the point P, if you put them all together, you know, this will constitute a cone, and this small r will be the slant height of a cone whose vertex is P and whose base is this, right? So no matter where you choose your dq, this small r will remain the same. It's going to be root r square plus x squared. Now, electric field produced at P is going to be what? K times dq divided by r squared, right? Now, do you realize that if I take a ring, if I take a dq here, then the electric field will be like this. But if I took a dq like this on a diametrically opposite end, then the dE will be of the same magnitude but will be like this, because the magnitude of dE is the same no matter where I take my dqs. But the direction of dE's would be like this for diametrically opposite points. A and B are diametrically opposite points where I have chosen dqs, right? And the direction of the electric field would be along the slant height of the cone, would be along the generator of that cone. Yes or no? अब ये देखो, if this angle is theta, this will be theta. This is the horizontal direction. This is the vertical direction. Vertical direction is along the axis, y direction. Now, do you realize for any pair of diametrically opposite points, the dE sine thetas will get cancelled. dE sine theta will get cancelled. And d cos thetas will get added up. d cos thetas will get added up. That means no component of the electric field will exist parallel to the plane of the ring. These are parallel to the plane of the ring, because for diametrically opposite ends, these components will cancel off in pairs. What you are left with only the dE cos thetas. So all that you need to do is, so the net electric field at P, the net electric field at P would be along the y direction, along the axial direction, and that will only be sum of all the dE cos thetas. Sum of all the dE cos thetas would be the net electric field at P, and it will be along the axis of the ring. It will be along the axis of the ring. Yes or no? Is there any confusion? No. So what about this theta? Look, this length is x chosen along the axis. This length is capital R and this is small r, right? Small r is the slant height of the cone. Small r is the slant height of the cone. This is theta. This is 90 minus theta. Now, theta, theta, these are vertically opposite angles. Do you realize that? Yes or no? Huh? Cos theta therefore would be what? X by small r. Cos theta would be x by small r. Do you realize? Cos theta would be small x by small r. Small r is the slant height of the cone. Same for all points on the ring. Same for all dq's on the ring. It's going to be the same cos theta. Now, what am I seeking to do? The net electric field is along the axis and is the sum of all the dE cos thetas obtained by taking various dq's along the ring. Isn't it? The net field will be sum of all the dE cos thetas, right? dE cos thetas are all along the axis, so they can be added like scalars. All the dE cos thetas are along the axis and they can be added like scalars. But the d's, I couldn't have said the net electric field will be sum of d's, because these d's are in different direction. I can't add them like scalars, right? But all the dE cos thetas are in the same direction. I can add them like scalars, right? I can add them like scalars. So let me do that. The net electric field at P is going to be Ey, which will be sum of all the dE cos thetas. Limits of integration would be such so as to include all points on the ring. This is what it means. It means my limits of integration would be such that all points on the ring are included. Okay? Which is like what? dE is what? K dq by r squared. dE is K dq by r squared. Cos theta taken for all points on the ring. This computation to be carried out for all dq's on the ring and added up. This is what I'm going to do. अच्छा अब देखिए भाई आप लोग. No matter where I take my dq, do you realize this is the semi-vertical angle of the cone that will not change. So cos theta that will not depend on which dq I have chosen, isn't it? So cos theta will wriggle out. Small r is the slant height of the cone. It will wriggle out. K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon, dumped out, right? So K cos theta by small r square will come out. What you are left with, while you are integrating this, you are left with K cos theta by r squared integral dq. Integral dq is what? Sum of all the dq's that lie on the ring. Integral dq, right? K dq, K by r squared cos theta has come out. And this is for all, which is like total charge on the ring, which is like total charge capital Q on the ring. So the net electric field at P is purely in the y direction. It's going to be K by r squared cos theta. Cos theta is x by small r. Cos theta I write as x by small r. And small integral dq is the total charge q. Isn't it? Integral dq for the entire ring means sum of all the dq's that lie on the ring. Sum of all the dq's that lie on the ring would be the total q on the ring. Will be the total q on the ring. Is it confusing? Nahi na beta? So, if I have charge uniformly distributed on the circumference of a ring, a charge capital Q uniformly distributed along the circumference of the ring, then the electric field at a distance x from the center along the axis is going to be given by this. Is going to be given by this. Where? What is small r? Small r would be root r square plus x square. Small r will be root r square plus x squared. R is the radius of the ring. X is the distance of the point P from the center O along the axis. Yes or no? परेशान हो रहे हो? नहीं समझ में आ रहा है? So let's see what it turns out. Can I remove this diagram? Just this diagram? This is K times the total charge on the ring into X divided by R cubed. R cubed is R square plus X squared to power half to power 3. So 3 by 2. That's how E varies along the X. If you plug in X equal to 0, you're talking of the center of the ring. And the electric field is going to be 0. That means if you placed a unit positive charge here, it will experience no net force. If you place a unit positive charge here, it will experience a net force in this direction and of this magnitude. I have a lot more discussion on this. Can I, if you're done copying this, I'll go to some more discussions on this equation. So, electric field at a point on the axis of a ring, uniform charge distribution, right? What turns out is, if I have charge distributed uniformly along the circumference of a ring, then at a point P, distance x from the ring, the net electric field will be electric field in the y direction. That will be the net electric field, that will be along the axis. And if r is the radius of the ring, this electric field is kqx by r square plus x squared to power 3 by 2, right? That's a net electric field. At x equal to 0, you can see that electric field is 0, which is the center of the ring, right? Do you see that? Center O of the ring. The electric field is 0. Now, what happens when you go very, very far away from the ring? Let's see what happens when you go very far away from the ring. Or let's say when x is much larger than the radius. When x is much larger than the radius. When this is much larger than the radius, what happens to the electric field? Let's explore that. Now, electric field E is kqx. What I do is, I take x square common from this. When it comes out, it will become x cubed, right? So, x cubed by r square by x square plus 1 to power 3 by 2. Yes or no? Nay? Very far away from the ring, and the total charge distributed is capital Q on the ring. Now, when x is much larger than r square by x square is a very small quantity. I can ignore this. So this then approximately becomes kqx by x cube, which is like kq by x squared. Yes or no? अब मतलब फंडा सोचो क्या है, क्या हो रहा है? What is, that means when you're moving very far along the axis, much larger than the radius r of the ring, then it's as if this entire thing behaves like a point charge. Then at a distance x, much larger than the radius, the electric field E then becomes kq by x squared, which is the characteristic of a point charge, which is the electric field produced by a point charge, yes or no? That means much larger than the radius. If you move along the axis of a ring, this entire thing behaves like a point charge, which is what you expect. If you're moving very far away from the ring, this whole thing will look like a point, isn't it? Think about it. It'll look like a point. Yes or no? So that behavior is reflected in this approximation. That behavior is reflected in this approximation. Now, when x is much smaller compared to r, means very close to the ring. When x is much smaller compared to r, that is very close to, isn't it? If x is much smaller compared to r, means you are taking points P very close to the ring. तब क्या होता है? Then so if I have a point P along the axis very close to the ring, तब क्या होगा? The electric field E, what I do is, इसमें से ना I take r square common. I take r square common. So kqx by r cube 1 plus x squared by r squared to power 3 by 2. This is what I get. Now, if x is much smaller compared to r, I can ignore this. So this then approximately becomes kqx by r cube. That means E increases linearly with x. E versus x will be a straight line, very close to the ring. E versus x will be a straight line. Very close to the ring, E versus x is going to be a straight line. See, E is kq by r cubed is a constant, y equal to mx. E versus x is going to be a straight line, very close to the ring. Linear behavior. Huh? At infinity, what happens as x tends to infinity? Not just large compared to r, but very large. Then the electric field E kqx, फिर x square common ले लो इसमें से, तो this will become x cube right? Now as x tends to infinity, r square by x square will tend to 0. X by x cubed is like a x squared. X squared. So as x tends to infinity, this tends to 1 and this tends to infinity. So E tends to 0. Yes or no? Very far away from the center of the ring, the electric field is going to be 0. You expected that, obviously. Huh? Matlab, this is only a check. You're right. Thanks for telling me that. But this is a check how the equations are reflecting physicality. That's all that I'm trying to do here. Right? So now what I'll do is, I'll draw the graph. I'll draw the graph of E versus X. I'll draw the graph of E versus X. কিসের? আরে খুব যদি দূর যায় সে ইনফ্লুয়েন্সটা তো কমেই যাবে। এই লিমিটটা x টেন্ডস টু ইনফিনিটি এটা 0 হয়ে যাবে, এটা প্রচন্ড বড় হয়ে যাবে, এটা তো 1, এই মালটা 0, এটা 1। হ্যাঁ So if I have to draw the graph E versus X, E obviously is in the y direction versus X. At X equal to 0, E was 0. Very close to the ring. That means very small values of X. E was practically behaving like a straight line. That was a good approximation. But decent approximation. Then, when X was large compared to the radius, it was going like 1 by x squared. E was decreasing like 1 by x squared. As x increased, E decreased. ये obvious नहीं है लेकिन. So when x was large compared to the radius, E was decreasing. E was going like 1 by x squared. If x increased, E decreased. KQ by x squared. That happens when the x's selected were large compared to the radius of the ring. These x's were small compared to the radius of the ring. Yes or no? And then as x tends to infinity, E tends to 0. So as x tends to infinity, E will tend to 0. Right? Now, I'll fill the space. What must happen is, eventually, this is what is happening initially and then decreasing. That means, initially it increases, electric field increases with distance. Realize that initially electric field is increasing with distance. And then it's decreasing. That means, on increasing, it must have somehow reached a maximum value. It must have reached a maximum value and must have then started to decrease. It must have reached a maximum value and it would have started to decrease. Right? So the electric field versus x is going to be like this. Initial portion is practically linear. This decreases as 1 by x squared. And at some value of x equal to x naught, E becomes a maximum. Now, how do we obtain the value of x naught for which E becomes a maximum? How does one obtain the value of x naught for which E becomes maximum? Hey, what's the expression for E? E is kqx by r square plus x squared to power 3 by 2. For E to be maximum, we learned in calculus, dE dx must be 0. For E to be maximum, dE dx must be 0 for E to be maximum. For E to be maximum, dE dx must be 0. If you differentiate this with respect to x and put dE dx as 0, if you differentiate this with respect to x and put dE dx as 0, the value of x that will turn out will be r by root 2, will turn out to be r by root 2. This x naught is the point where E becomes the maximum, r by root 2. X equal to r by root 2 is the point, distance r by root 2 from the center of the ring along the axis. E will become a maximum. If you supply negative values of x, that means below the ring, right? This was x equal to 0. These are positive values of x. Below the ring will be negative values of x, right? If you plug in negative values of x, you'll get the same magnitude, but the sign of E will change. That means, now if these are negative values of x, you will get the same magnitudes, but opposite sign. That means you just reflect it like this for negative values of x. For a given x here, this will be x naught equal to minus r by root 2. This is what will happen. Replacing the sign of x, changing the sign of x, only the sign of E will change. See, the difference between this part and this part is not the magnitudes, only the sign. These are positive signs, these are negative signs of the same magnitude. This is the graph of E versus x for a ring. E versus x for a ring uniformly charged. So, the electric field. Now, what about the potential because of a ring at a point P on the axis? That's a much easier statement to handle because directions don't have to be taken care of. Potential is a scalar, and you don't have directions for potentials, and you cannot add them in a very ordinary manner. Let me compute the potential at a point P on the axis of the ring at a distance x from the center for a uniformly charged ring. All right. Uniformly charged ring. Oh, and one thing, why the electric field because of this uniformly charged ring turned out to be purely vertical. E turned out to be purely vertical along the axis. Again, this could have been guessed without doing any hanky-panky. Because, look, about the axis, there is no way to distinguish between this part of the ring and this part of the ring. Now, which means electric field should show no bias towards this region and that region. How can it be bias-free? Only if it is vertical. That is when it will be bias-free. It will have no bias towards this region or दैट रीजन. नहीं समझे बात मेरा? हम गैस कर सकते थे कि ये वर्टिकली होगा, क्योंकि अगर वर्टिकल नहीं होता तो इंक्लाइंड होता. सपोज ऐसा होता, ई वाई ई ऐसा होता सपोज है. अब साला इस रीजन में क्या स्पेशल है कि ये इसकी तरफ इंक्लाइंड है? कुछ है? तो बोलेगा नहीं ऐसा है. तो बेटा इस रीजन में क्या है इससे अलग जो कि ऐसा होना चाहिए? तो ना इस रीजन में स्पेशल है ना इस रीजन में स्पेशल है. तो ये बबुआ कैसे करेगा? बोलेगा भाई हमारा चटनी मत बनाओ, हम ऐसे ही हैं. Neither I have inclination towards you nor I have inclination towards this fellow. I'm neutral. The electric field remains agnostic. Clear? Are you okay with this? Now, and of course, if this distribution was non-uniform, then it wouldn't have been vertical, mind you. If this distribution was non-uniform, then suppose this was non-uniform distribution. Now see how I did was I took an electric field dE because of this, dE1 because of a charge element here, right? Because of a charge element, and dQ1 produced a dE1, and I took another charge element dQ2. Now the same length on the circumference will house different amounts of charges if it's non-uniform. dQ1 will not be the same as dQ2 if the ring was non-uniform, and therefore this dE1 produced by this and the dE2 produced by this will not be equal in magnitude. Hence their horizontal components will not cancel. Therefore the electric field will also have a component parallel to the plane of the ring, in which case, because now it says, hey, these two regions are not the same, therefore whichever is heavier in terms of charge, I'll show a proclivity commensurate. But if there was uniform charge, there was no way to distinguish. The component of the electric field parallel to the plane of the ring would have gone into oblivion, would have vanished, right? So a non-uniform ring would have had a component of the electric field vertical, also a component of the electric field parallel to the plane of the ring, non-zero. समझ रहे हो मेरा बात? अब चलो. So electric field का game हुआ था अभी potential because of a ring. This is much simpler to obtain. Potentials, that's a reason we defined another end. See, all of physics, electrical physics could have been done away without potentials. We could have had only vector descriptions of that region, electric fields. But there is merit in having potentials because they are easier to deal with. They are scalars. Scalars are always easier to deal with. Fellas have no direction like you. Right? So easier to deal with. That's a compliment. People who have so now this is the radius r of the ring. At a point P, distance x. At a point P, distance x from the center along the axis, I want to compute the potential. So all that I need to do is, I will break this ring into several dq's, compute the potential at P because of a sample dq, and sum it up like I sum up scalars. This is all that I will do, right? Now, this is the slant height of this cone, r, which does not depend on which dq I select, and which also does not depend on whether the charge distribution is uniform or non-uniform. The slant height of the cone will not change because of that, right? So potential at P because of this dq is what? K times dq divided by slant height of the cone, distance, right? Potential at P because of this choice of dq is this, K dq, right? For all dq's put together, sum it up along the ring, that's a total potential at P. देखो बेटा, नहीं क्या? I hope you're not confused with all this, huh? You're registering everything that I'm saying. Acha, now, K constant, small r, will it depend on which dq I have chosen? No, it's always going to be the slant height of this chosen cone. So K by R conveniently goes out, integral dq, sum of all the dq's on the ring, hey, sum of all the dq's on the ring will be the total charge on the ring. Will be the total charge. Now the interesting thing is, in this calculation, do you understand this calculation first? In this calculation, have I used at any point, anywhere, at any step, that the charge distribution is uniform? Integral dq, irrespective of whether the charge distribution is uniform or not, will be the total charge. Integral dq, irrespective of whether this charge distribution is uniform or not, will be the total charge. That means this result, potential at the point P, kq by r, will also hold good even if this charge capital Q was haphazardly distributed over the ring, was non-uniformly distributed over this. The potential part does remain intact. Electric field will depend on, in this case, not in all cases, will depend on how charges are distributed for a ring, but potential along the axis does not depend on how charges are distributed, only depends on the total charge and the slant height of the cone. K times the total charge in the ring divided by the slant height of the cone will give me the potential. So, what would be the potential at O? No, not 0. Hey, at O, this small r becomes capital R, yes or no? It's like a suppressed cone, जिसका माथा मारा P यहाँ के बैठ गया तो small r capital R हो गया ना at O? Small r becomes capital R, yes or no? तुम सोचे तुमको मारेंगे, हमारा माथा खराब है जो इतना बॉडी बिल्डर को मारेंगे, है ना? So at O, small r becomes capital R, so it's going to be K capital Q by capital R. That's the potential at the center of a ring. Charge uniformly or non-uniformly distributed does not matter. Yes or no? You therefore understand what's happening in a ring, right? Right? An electric field could either be produced by one point charge or a collection of discrete point charges or a continuous distribution of charges, which could be linear, surface or volume, right? Either way, one way or the other. Now, in a very general sense, no depending on what kind of a collection of charges has produced an electric field, right? In a very general sense, electric field produced by a collection of charges, continuous or discrete or combined, the electric field vector produced by a certain charge distribution in general will have an x component, will have a y component, and will have a z component, right? In a very general sense, this is what it's going to be. Now, listen to this. So at a point P, x, y, z, say this is my x direction. This is my x direction or parallel to the x direction. When you go from P to Q, very close by points, parallel to the x axis, then y, z remain the same. X changes by a small amount, dx. But if you move parallel to the x axis, y and z will not change, है ना? ठीक है? Now, this is the electric field vector E. This is the electric field vector E, which is the force on a unit positive test charge when placed at this point. A unit positive charge when placed at P will experience along the x-axis a force Ex. A unit positive charge when placed at P will experience along the x-axis a force Ex. When a unit positive charge is imagined to go from P to Q, then the work done by the electric field field dW by the field, that is work done by the electric field. Okay, when I say work done by the electric field, matlab kya hua? Work done by the forces of the electric field. On a unit positive charge, what's the force on a unit positive charge? E. Now work done by a force is what? Component of the force in the direction of the force into displacement. What is the force that experienced by a unit positive charge in this direction? Ex. What is the work done by the electric field therefore? Component of the electric field in the direction of displacement into dx. So that's like Ex into dx. Keeping y and z constant, keeping yz constant. Keeping yz constant, this would be the work done by, isn't it? Y and z are maintained constant from P to Q. That's the work done by the electric field to go from P to Q. Right now, work done by the forces of the field is also negative of the change in potential energy. In this case, since it's a force on a work done on a unit positive charge, it will be the negative of the change in potential. जहां यूनिट पॉजिटिव चार्ज लोगे तो फोर्स की जगह इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड आ जाएगा और पोटेंशियल एनर्जी की जगह पोटेंशियल आ जाएगा. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस, है ना? सो वर्क डन बाय द फोर्सेस ऑफ द फील्ड वुड बी नेगेटिव ऑफ द चेंज इन पोटेंशियल. ऐसी तो पोटेंशियल डिफाइंड है ना. सो दिस वुड बी नेगेटिव ऑफ द चेंज इन पोटेंशियल. दैट मींस इफ द पोटेंशियल हियर वाज u, the potential here changed by an amount du, then negative of the change in potential is minus du, na? है ना? Keeping y and z constant. That means now Ex into dx, keeping y and z constant, is negative of the change in potential from P to Q. So Ex is minus du dx, keeping yz constant. Ex is minus du dx, keeping yz constant. This is what it means, है ना? ये dx को यहां ले आए, yz constant maintain करके तो सारा ऑपरेशन कर रहे हैं, है ना? That means du dx means what? Rate of change of potential in the x direction. Du dx means what? Rate of change of potential in the x direction. And this is negative of the rate of change of potential in the x direction, isn't it? Keeping y and z constant, right? This is negative of the rate of change of potential x direction. Negative of the rate of change of potential in the x direction is electric field component in the x direction, is the electric field component in the x direction. Negative of the rate of change of potential in the x direction will give me component of the electric field in the x direction. This is what it means. परेशान हो? नहीं? समझ में आया सबको? And du dx when y and z remains constant is like saying differentiate u with respect to x, keeping yz constant. And that fact is written as minus dou u dou x. If you write minus dou u dou x, you will not have to write y and z remaining constant. Minus dou u dou x means you are keeping y and z constant. You are differentiating with respect to x but keeping y and z constant. The moment you write this dodo x of u, it's dodo x of u, right? It's like partial derivative of u with respect to x. Yes or no? You know what I'm saying? Similarly, in the same way, electric field component in the y direction would be minus dou u dou y. Electric field component in the z direction would be minus dou u dou z. Where u is a function of xyz, right? Potential will depend on xyz. Potential at different points of an electric field in general will be different. It's a function of xyz, na? In a general sense, potential is a function of xyz. Bolo. Say for example, u is x square yz. Suppose somebody told you This is the scalar description of an electric field. The potential at different points x, y, z is given by this. Somehow you have obtained that. And they say, given this potential description, given this scalar description of that region, find the electric field at any x, y, z. Find the electric field at any x, y, z. So what would you do? Hey, electric field in the x direction, you will say minus dou u dou x, means differentiate this with respect to x, keeping y, z constant. So what would that be? Minus 2x, y, z. That's the x component of the electric field. What is the electric field in the y direction? Negative of the rate of change of potential in the y direction. That means differentiate u with respect to y, keeping x and z constant. Ye kya ho jayega? X square z. You know? And then electric field component in the z direction would be what? Negative of the rate of change of potential in the z direction, which is minus x square y. Ab dekho, ex, ey, ez pata hai? Plug into this, you'll get the electric field vector. You'll get the electric field vector at any x, y, z. You'll get the electric field vector at any x, y, z. Yes or no? So given the potentials at various points, you can find the electric field at any x, y, z by using this. In a very general sense, electric field component in any direction r would be negative of the rate of change of potential in that direction. Electric field component in any direction r is negative of the rate of change of potential in that direction. Some charge distributions will produce uniform electric field. Some charge distributions will produce uniform electric field. When I say uniform, means it's the same for all points in the region. So E is a uniform field produced. E is a uniform field produced by at every point of a region of an electric field. Now, let's say in this region, if I take a charge from P 1, 2, 3 to a point Q, which is minus 3, 4, 1. Between these 2 points, I want to compute the difference in potential energies. Given E uniform, I want to squeaky. Where was that from? So essentially, you know, this is the electric field, which remains constant, right? What is the position vector of the initial point? I cap plus 2j cap plus 3k cap is the position vector of the initial point. You know, I cap plus 2j cap plus 3k. What is the potential? What is the position vector of the final point? Minus 3 I cap. E is the force on a unit positive charge, right? So if a unit positive charge is transported from P to Q, it experiences a constant force E. Work done by a constant force is what? E dot change of position. Work done by a constant force. E is the constant force acting on a unit positive charge. Then what's the work done by a constant force? E dot change in position. E dot displacement. This is delta R. Yes or no? That's a work done by a constant force. E dot delta R. And that must be equal to negative of the change in potential. That must be equal to negative, by definition, that must be negative of the change in potential. Yes or no? Confused हो क्या? मतलब हर पॉइंट पे सेम इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड है. ऐसा एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है चार्ज का पूरे रीजन में. उस पूरे रीजन में सेम इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड है गुरु. कोई ऐसा चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है which has caused this to happen. Uniform electric field, right? So the unit positive charge experiences a constant force E. Work done by a constant force, no matter what the path is E dot displacement, E dot delta R. Even if this is the path or some other path, anyways, E is a conservative field. Work done from P to Q, no matter what path I take, will be the same. Why? Because it's a कंजर्वेटिव फील्ड, ऊपर से ये साला कांस्टेंट भी है, और भी आसान कर दिया, राइट? सो दैट्स अ वर्क. Delta R, what is delta R? R2 minus R1. That will be negative of potential, change in potential, potential at Q minus potential at P. So R2 minus R1 you can compute. If somebody gave you E, say for example, E could have been a constant field I cap plus 3J cap plus 5K cap. You can plug in the value of E, find R2 minus R1, take the dot product, that will be negative of the potential difference between Q and P, final point minus initial point. So given you the scalar description of that region as a function of x, y, z, how easily you can find the vector description of that region, the electric field. Ex is minus dou u dou x, Ey is minus dou u dou y, Ez is minus dou u dou z. Yes or no? है ना? Given the electric field, so given the potential, we found the vector description electric field. Now given the electric field, how does one find the potential u? Given the electric field, how does one find the potential u? Right? Suppose the electric field E is given by xi cap plus y squared j cap plus zk cap, or say z cube k cap. In a certain region of space, electric field vector at any xyz is given by this. And I want to find the potential at any xyz. This is the electric field at any xyz. I want to find the potential at any xyz. So socho, I have a point P xyz, right? And there is a point Q very close to this, x plus dx, y plus very nearby point, y plus dy, z plus dz is a nearby point. The displacement from P to Q is dr. Displacement from P to Q is dr. Dr is what? Dr is final position minus initial position. Change in x, I cap. Displacement is change in the x direction, I cap. Change in the y component, y cap. Change in the z direction, dz, k cap. Hoga? Displacement from P to Q. And P, Q are very close enough points. So the electric field at this point is, for this small displacement dr, electric field is remaining practically constant. So what's the work done by the electric field? Work done by the electric field would be E dot dr. From P to Q, that's the work done by the electric field. E dot dr, that must be negative of the change in potential. अच्छा, E dot dr मतलब इन दोनों का डॉट प्रोडक्ट लोगे तो क्या आएगा? I dot I1, so this will be x dx, right? Dot product x dx, y squared dy plus z cube dz. Yes or no? डॉट प्रोडक्ट लेने से ये आएगा क्या? देखो, E dot dr, ये E है, ये dr है, दोनों का डॉट प्रोडक्ट लो. This is what you get, right? That's negative of the change in potential. That's negative, right? So then integrate, integrate, integrate. That will be change in negative of the change in potential from P to Q. Yes or no? Huh? Now when you integrate, or let's say I'll just calculate this open-ended. This will be x square by 2. This will be y cube by 3. This will be z power 4 by 4. Plus a constant of integration, that will be minus u. Plus a constant of integration. Now somebody told me that x equal to 0, y equal to 1, z equal to minus 1, u is 2. Suppose somebody told me this. Using this data, can I calculate C? Plug in x equal to 0, y equal to 1, z equal to minus 1 and u equal to 2. I can obtain the value of C. Once I obtain the value of C, then I know u as a function of xyz. Then I would know u as a function of xyz. Yes or no? So this is like a boundary condition. At a given point, somebody assigned the value of potential to me. No physical significance, because if you write it as minus C, nothing will change. it's just a constant. इसका कोई physical significance नहीं है. No physical significance. किचु ही नहीं. Do you understand that? You can obtain C and U as a function of x, y, z.